Israeli naval forces have intercepted dozens of boats that were part of a flotilla of over 40 vessels carrying aid to Gaza. Israel says the ships were safely stopped and their passengers transferred to Israel, from where they will be deported back to Europe. The activists who were detained say their vessels were seized illegally in international waters. Several other boats in the flotilla say they're continuing their journey towards Gaza.
You're seeing an Israeli Navy vessel near one of the flotilla boats sailing towards Gaza. A short while later, it's intercepted. Israeli military officers board the boat and detain the activists on board. And here the same happens on another vessel. The global Sumud Flotilla is made up of more than 40 boats. In total, around 500 people from dozens of countries were on board the vessels. They include politicians, lawyers and activists. Their aim to transport humanitarian aid for Palestinians in Gaza and break the Israeli blockade of the enclave. Israel has previously said the flotilla is violating its, quote, lawful naval blockade, and asked organisers to change course. The Foreign Ministry said it had offered to transfer the aid to Gaza. In a post on X, the ministry said several vessels of what they called a Hamas Sumud flotilla, despite no proven links to the Islamist group, had been, quote, safely stopped, and those aboard were being transferred to an Israeli port. They added, referring to the climate activist Greta Thunberg, Greta and her friends are safe and healthy. In several posts on Telegram, the global Sumud Flotilla wrote that Israeli naval forces intercepted and boarded the boats in international waters. They said the interception was an illegal attack on unarmed humanitarians and called on governments and international institutions to demand their immediate safety and release. Several countries have condemned Israel's actions. Turkey's foreign ministry called Israel's, quote, attack on the flotilla an act of terror that endangered the lives of innocent civilians. Malaysia's Prime Minister wrote that Israel has shown utter contempt not only for the rights of the Palestinian people, but also for the conscience of the world. The UK's Foreign Office said it was very concerned about the situation. Ireland's Prime Minister, the Taoiseach, described the developments as very concerning. Spain's Prime Minister said all Spanish citizens had full diplomatic protection. Israel's actions against the flotilla sparked protests in several countries, including here in Greece, in Argentina, and in Malaysia. In Italy, unions have called a national strike on Friday in support of the flotilla.
I want to take a closer look at the protest the interception of the Gaza flotilla has triggered in Italy, and bring in freelance journalist Alina Trabattoni. Alina, good to see you. Demonstrations in a number of cities last night. How much support do the activists have among the Italian public?
Well, you can visibly see that the support is massive, because as soon as the news broke out last night, people just took to the streets. Around, tens of thousands of people flocked around, literally. I saw people running to protest and to demonstrate across Italy in 100 squares. And there is an informal poll going around, circulating in Italy, whereby it would have 80% of Italy's population urging and wanting the government to take a very firm stand against Gaza. So the support is massive. Now, it needs to be said, this is not an official poll, it's not a government poll, and it's not an institutional poll. But I am told by sources that the Italian government cabinet has seen the numbers, and that it is raising concern.
Against Gaza, you say, I'm assuming you mean the actions of the Israeli military against the members of the flotilla. Now, many world leaders, we heard it in our report earlier, have criticized the flotilla's interception. What's the Italian government's stance here?
The actual poll is requesting that Italy recognize the state of Palestine as opposed to the flotilla. I think pretty much everyone in Italy agrees that the flotilla should be allowed to go through, because it is considered humanitarian action. And whilst the Italian government has fallen short of recognizing the Palestinian state and of calling the violence there genocide, it has very much underlined the fact that the flotilla flotilla is a humanitarian aid mission, so much so that the Italian government actually allowed for an Italian Navy frigate, an Italian Navy ship, to escort the flotilla, the 50-ship-strong flotilla, until yesterday, until it had to turn back, because obviously it was there to support and safeguard, but it could not be embroiled in any sort of warlike or aggressive actions that could have been looming up ahead.
Yeah. And Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has slammed Italy's largest union for calling a general strike for Friday. Do you expect people to follow the call? And if so, what kinds of disruptions could a strike cause?
Well, we've seen a flavor of the disruptions we can expect last week when many people, tens of thousands, took to the streets in Rome and in many of the big Italian cities. And we also saw some foresight last night when demonstrators occupied stations across the nation. The station of Naples, the station of Pisa were taken control of. So we're expecting many people out on the street, because the incredible attraction of this protest for society in Italy is that it goes beyond political colors. The flotilla is considered a humanitarian mission. Many people are cheering on the last 10 boats that are managing to break through the blockade and are on their way to Gaza still, unless they're stopped before they arrive. Obviously, their arrival will be just a symbolic action, because it's not going to do much to alleviate the suffering of a population that is under bombs and is suffering severe famine and malnutrition. But everyone is very much supporting this, and many people are expected out on the street.
Alina Trabattoni joining us from Milan in Italy today. Thank you so much.